Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Power Aging Women, where we are over 50 and we are not letting age slow us down. No, we are not. We want to know what it takes to have a healthy life at this season and making sure that we're living our strongest, most vibrant, and most powerful time in this season. Each and every week, we're going to go into debunking the myths. We're going to stop listening to what the bros are saying about our body, and we're going to really get into the nitty-gritty of what's working for us as women. I'm naturopath Judy Seeger. I've been at this for a long, long time, over 30 years, and now living it as well, and want to share it with you. So let's dive in today because we're talking about belly fat. Do we need to do more cardio? What do we need to do? Like, what is going on? It's so annoying, and we're going to really get into the nitty gritty. Here's the thing, that belly fat is getting bigger. And it's so frustrating. Our pants don't fit as well. Everything is uncomfortable. And so if you're looking to find out, well, what is working for us? Like, is it something we're not doing? I'll tell you one thing. It is not about having more willpower. Listen, we are all busy. We are working. We are doing things at home, making the meals, taking the dog out. We are doing already way too. We have plenty of willpower. That's not it. There's something else going on, and we're going to get into it. I will say most people think that walking is plenty. They're doing their 10,000 steps. They're getting out there thinking, oh, that's going to help my belly, my weight, and all that stuff. It's not. I will just tell you, it doesn't work. Me being the walker, I usually walk 3 to 5 miles a day. No, it is not enough. So let's just debunk that myth right off, right from the get-go, and understand that we really need to do a little bit more and understand a little bit more about what's happening with that belly fat issue, right? Look, I've been at this 30 years, like I said, as a naturopath, and I had so many women coming in concerned about it because not just for their health, for their looks and all that, but for their health as well. And I want to cover that. And I also go much deeper into this in my reset week, which I'll tell you more about later. But this is a good foundational place to start. So let's get into the weeds. So, how many of you remember when Jane Fonda got into her aerobics? Love her. And she was like teaching us, more cardio, just do your aerobics every day. Or Richard Simmons was another one. I actually saw him live. It was, he was a pistol, let me tell you. And so that whole misconception of just cardio, cardio, cardio was what they were teaching us, right? But here's the thing that now the scientists are showing that it's just not enough, is understanding that something called menopause really it gets wonky in our system. And the issue is that in our 30s and 40s, maybe the belly fat, the weight was not that much of an issue, but definitely when we get into menopause, it's like, whoa, where did this weight come from? Why can't I get rid of it? Why is it making me feel gassy, bloaty, constipated? It's like, what the heck? It's like you feel like you have a different body, right? Am I talking to anybody, right? And so that's why cardio is not enough because you're thinking, oh, I'll just do my 10,000 steps or I'll go do some Zumba, whatever, and you're good to go. And you're not. I will just tell you, just stop thinking like that and let's make a slight shift. That's actually pretty easy to do. So if you're doing lots of cardio, whether it's biking, swimming, walking, you're going to get sore, right? Your muscles get a little bit sore, you get a little bit tired, you feel good that you're outside and doing it, or whether you're in the gym on the treadmill. But it's actually a type of stress to your system, and that cortisol is not happy. And what happens then is it says, hey, hey, you're stressing me out too much. Plus, of course, work stress. Plus, of course, relationship stress. Plus, of course, the dog is barking too much stress. Right? There's just too much going on. And your cortisol says, hey, listen, I'm going to go. I mean, this is not how it talks, but it's just showing the science in very simple terms for you to understand that that cortisol gets stored then in your belly, in your hips, in those arm flappy wappies, right? All the places that your body says, hey, let me store it to stay safe until the stress goes down and is reduced, right? So let's get into the four things that causes this specifically so you understand, okay, these are the stresses I really need to focus on and work on. And then the belly says, hey, okay, you know what? I'm now not having to deal with all this and it's much better. So number one is sleep. If you're not sleeping, at least your 7 hours, it makes a big difference. We're going to go into that in another episode, but just understand, do everything you can to get that sleep, people. That is so important, right? Even just going to bed at the same time every night and then waking up at the same time helps, all right? Another one is not having enough protein. I just had a client who said, yeah, I eat well and everything is going good, but I'm still struggling with this issue in my health. And I had her do a 3-day food journal. And then, oh my goodness, I saw, chips over here and snacky carb crackers over here, and then lots and lots of carbs with every single meal. And I was like, carbs are carbs. And she was not having enough protein. So I said, why don't you count how much protein you have? And she had like 40 grams, and she was kind of the same height, same weight as I was, and she was supposed to be having like almost 100 grams a day. Come to find out that, oh my goodness, I'm not having enough. She switched it, and within a few days, she was already feeling better. Her restless leg syndrome was gone, and she had a little bit more energy, right? So it did make a difference. Another one is having too much coffee. I think coffee is fine. 1 or 2 cups in the morning is fine, but being over caffeinated is a stress to your system. And of course, emotional stress. Listen, we all have it, me included. That we don't get through life without it, but reducing it, getting rid of the drama mamas in our life, get rid of them. If there's friends and family that are drama mamas, just like, listen, I'll talk to you next week, and then next week, you know what? I'm busy. Let's talk after that. You gotta put them in a slow mode and take care of your own emotional and mental health needs. Here's another tip. Your cardio actually doesn't do much for your muscle. It helps your cardiovascular system. Don't get me wrong. It helps your lungs. It helps, overall, but it really is not helping muscle. And the reason that is so important is because now Dr. Stacy Sims, Dr. Rhonda Patrick, and all the women that I follow, all saying the same thing, that building the muscle after 50 is so, so important to get that extra oxygen into our brain so we could avoid and slow down this whole dementia, Alzheimer's thing. That is very real, right? And so one of the things you have to understand is that as we get older into our 50s, our metabolism slows down. Like, we look at 80 and 90-year-olds and like, yeah, they don't eat that much because they're not moving that much. And that's, we consider that normal. But guess what? When you're in your 50s, that's also very important to understand that we really do lose our muscle mass, our muscle strength. And this is not a good thing. And cardio doesn't really help that very much. We need more energy, and having the muscles be able to do what we want to do makes a massive difference. Okay. So understand that your metabolism slows down. Then your body starts getting a little bit softer because you're not doing the strength exercises. Then your waist gets a little bit thicker. Your arms get a little flabbier. Your butt starts to hang, right? So less muscle means less fat burning, even if you work out more on cardio. So understand that. Here's another tip that I found that I saw a lot in my clinic. It was so, so common that long cardio, people who, I had my clinic in the Midwest, they were farmers, they were working hard all day. That's a type of cardio, let me tell you. And they were also then doing the exercises and whatnot, and cardio exercises. And the challenge was that they would get so hungry and they would grab their sweets. They would grab their fruit. They would grab, toast with butter, and thinking, okay, I'm just hungry. I just need to have something as I'm, going through the day. Or after their cardio workout, right, they would say, oh, I'm starving. And they reach for the carbs. And I'm like, we need to switch that to proteins and fats. And we started talking about ways to do that. So let's get into that, because sugar cravings are real, especially when you do more cardio, right? So cardio Yeah, it puts a little bit more stress on your body. It doesn't help you to burn the fat, and it makes you actually have more cravings. Listen, let's reduce the cardio and let's talk about the strength stuff in a minute. Okay, so first things first, how we're going to reduce the sugar cravings. Super simple, actually. First, you got to put it in your head. Oh, you know what? I'm going to add more fats like avocado. Hey, think so, guacamole. And then you're like, well, but guacamole goes with chips. I get it. I understand that. But you're going to have to just put a little dollop on your steamed veggies or on, whatever else you're eating to just put it on the side and just skip the chips. Okay. Let's put that in there. Skip the chips. Okay. We're just going to do avocado. You could mash it. You could put a little tomato, fresh tomato and salt on it. That's your fat. Or on your steamed vegetables, you could drizzle a little olive oil and avocado oil. And what that does, again, it increases that ability to say, you know what, I'm full, I'm feeling satisfied, and it satiates you, and you're not interested in reaching for any sweets after your meal, right? So, fats, your avocado, olive oil, coconut oil, your raw nuts and seeds are great. Your olives, all are good to have at each and every meal to help reduce that sugar craving, right? And that way you're starting to get back control. Here's another tip that is super important to understand is don't eat late at night, 3 hours before you're going to bed. I actually 5 hours before, because remember I said your metabolism slows down, and you definitely have to say, okay, what time frame, what period do I need that makes sure that I can digest my food and not have it sit heavy, right? Because at nighttime, you're tired. You've been through all the stresses of the day, you've had all different things happen, and you thought, well, I did my cardio, so I should be good. Well, no, because that's at the end of the day, if you're eating a bigger meal, it's very important not to put more stress on your digestive system because your metabolism is slowed down due to the stresses. So at least 3 hours before, but really dinner should be very light anyway. Men can get away with it because they have a faster metabolism. As women in our 50s, 60s, 70s on up, we do not. So it's super important. Make sure that you're not having anything late at night. And if you are, like, have like a veggie soup. Have some steamed veggies with some olive oil drizzled on it with a little seasoning. That's really all you need. So of course, the tips are long. We could keep going on all different things that are happening to our body. Look, we know that the belly fat is there, and we're understanding now that, okay, cardio might not be the best thing. What do we do? And I always want to make sure that you guys have something practical during these podcasts, and post below what your struggle is as well, because we're going to do this together. Okay. Yes, we go into the much more deeply in the reset week, which is coming up. But I do want to make sure that I cover your questions when you're like, well, what about this situation, right? So let's go into the list. Number one, you got to get into strength training of some kind, right? And I follow Dr. Stacy Sims, where I go on YouTube. I am not a personal trainer. I'm learning right along with everybody else, but the strength training is like a non-negotiable, right? So 2 times a week minimum, preferably three. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Set your timer, ladies. Put that phone on, your alarm, and make sure that you are saying, you know what, I'm going to have to do this. And one of the people who follows me on TikTok said, you know what? I look at it as something that I'm able to do, not like I have to do. So switch your mindset and say, I'm able to go to the gym and I'm going to do some strength training so that I don't have to worry about aging issues, and I'm just going to do it, right? And it doesn't really take that long, right? That's the cool part. Okay, so number one is strength training. Number two is short cardio bursts. Now, what do I mean by that? Is like you could get on the stationary bike or the elliptical. My elliptical is my favorite, and my rowing machine is that you go really, really hard, as hard as you possibly can for a good 5 to 10 minutes. Now, when I first started this, I was only at like barely 5 minutes. I was like, oh, I can't breathe. This is so hard. Now, since I've been going for the last few months again, way easier. I'm already up to 15 minutes and it feels really great. So short burst, why? Because we want to put a little bit more oxygen, well, not a little, a lot more oxygen pumping up in from our lungs into our heart and brain. And those short bursts have been shown to help. And it could be just even jumping jacks, anything like that. Doesn't matter, but do those short higher intensity bursts. Okay. Okay. So walk for stress release, not for the calorie burn, thinking it's going to help your weight and your belly fat. So I really, really think that going out in nature is the most effective way of reducing that stress in our day so that we're like, ah, oh, yeah, it was a rough day and oh my God, I had all these things happen. But nature is the great healer. So I'm always trying to be near the water. No matter how cold it is, I'm out there. I do my 20-minute walk, preferably longer if I can. And that's it. I just feel so much better when I do that. So refocus that walk time to this is your stress-free time to lower your stress, right? Another tip is having rest and recovery days. So important, right? So if you go to the gym or you do your strength training Monday, Wednesday, Friday, guess what? Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday, you get to rest, even Sunday. Yeah, you need that. Okay, because we don't bounce back like we did in our 20s and 30s, right? And it's so important to have those days of like, I'm just gonna do some stretches at home, nice and easy, upper body. I'm gonna sit in my chair and do a little bit of leg lifts, simple things so that you're still moving, but not hardcore. Okay, movement is still important. We'll be talking about that too in more episodes, but just understand that it doesn't have to be hardcore, right? And then protein, up your protein, making sure you're getting enough for your body. How do you know? Well, it's basically all about that you're not sore, you're not achy the next day after your workout because you're not inflamed, because you're getting enough protein, right? And then making sure that your hormones are happy. We'll get into all that. So this is what can work for your body. You're not fighting against your body with all these other things going on, thinking that cardio is enough. Super important to understand that. So if this episode made you feel like, I guess I'm not alone. I just didn't know these things. I'm so glad we got a chance to get together and talk about this and would love to hear more about what your thoughts are. But in the meantime, make sure that you join my email list because we want to get the word out, right? And the reset week as well, all the information will be down below and subscribe and be part of this so that as women together, as we're aging, we're doing this together. We're feeling like, yeah, you know what, that I've heard all these different things, but I haven't been sure. And I want to make sure that you get the results that you deserve. All right, we'll catch you on the next episode.